All right, hey everyone, get ready because today we're going deep, really deep, into BCAAs, branch chain amino acids.
Sounds intense.
It is. And you know, our listeners never shy away from a challenge, right?
They sure don't. Always up for a good deep dive.
Exactly. And this one's all about maximizing workout recovery. You know, bouncing back faster, feeling less sore, all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
everyone wants that edge,
Yeah.
especially if you're pushing yourself in the gym.
For sure. And you guys, our listeners, have sent in some super interesting sources, actually. Branch chain amino acids, BCAAs, and even a Wikipedia article.
Wow, going straight to the source.
Like always. So it's clear people want to know, can BCAAs actually help you recover better from your workouts?
It's a great question. Definitely a hot topic in the fitness world.
Totally. So let's start with like the BCAA basics. Okay.
Okay, back to the
Well,
fundamentals.
sources, branch chain amino acids, BCAAs, and Wikipedia, they agree on one thing. BCAAs are these essential amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine.
Right. The big three.
The big three.
Hmm.
But essential, what does that even mean?
It means our bodies can't make them on their own. We have to get them from somewhere else.
So like food, right?
Yeah, food or supplement.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's why you see BCAAs plastered all over protein powders and all those workout supplements.
Exactly. Companies know people are looking for that recovery boost.
For sure. Okay, but before we even get into all that stuff, something in branch chain amino acids, BCAAs, really jumped out at me.
Oh, really? What was that?
Okay, so unlike other amino acids that are processed, like mainly in the liver, right?
Mm-hmm.
BCAAs, they're different. They're actually metabolized mainly in the muscles.
Oh, interesting. So they go straight to the source.
Yeah, directly to the muscles.
Why would that be?
Well, that's what I was wondering. What does that tell us about, like, how they actually work?
Well, I think it points to their direct involvement in muscle function and repair. It's like having the repair crew already stationed right at the construction site, you know?
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So they're not just, like, floating around waiting for a call. They're right there in the action.
Exactly, ready to go the moment any damage occurs.
Wow, that's so cool. Okay, so let's, like, get to know each of these BCAA VIPs a little better.
Okay.
Branch chain amino acids, BCAAs, does a really good job of breaking down their individual roles.
Yeah.
And leucine, man, that one seems like the real star of the show when it comes to, like, muscle growth.
Oh, absolutely. Leucine is definitely a major player. I mean, it's the most abundant BCAA we've got.
Right.
And it's really the one that kickstarts that muscle protein synthesis process. That's what builds that new muscle tissue.
So it's like if you're trying to build muscle, leucine's like the boss.
Think of it as the foreman on that construction site we were talking about,
Right.
directing the whole building process.
Uh-huh. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, but is it just about, like, getting bigger muscles?
Oh, no, not at all. Leucine does a lot more than just that. It plays a role in regulating blood sugar levels, helps with wound healing, and it even supports bone and skin health.
No way. So it's a busy little molecule.
Super busy.
Okay, well, what about isoleucine then? I feel like your source, how isoleucine supports exercise recovery and overall health, is really hyped on that one.
Oh, yeah, isoleucine is pretty fascinating. It's not just a building block for protein, like, it's more than that.
Oh, really? How so?
It acts as a signaling molecule. It's like influencing a bunch of different processes throughout the body.
So it's not just, like, passively sitting there. It's actually, like, sending out instructions.
Yeah, exactly. Like a project manager, making sure everything runs smoothly.
I like that. So what kind of, like, instructions are we talking about here?
Well, the research, it points to some pretty impressive benefits, especially when it comes to workout recovery.
Really?
Yeah, for example, it seems like isoleucine can actually help reduce those muscle damage markers that you get after a really tough workout.
You mean, like, less muscle damage,
Yeah,
which means less soreness, right?
hopefully.
Yeah.
Less soreness, faster recovery.
Sign me up. Okay, so less muscle damage, that's amazing. But, like, what else can it do?
Well, have you ever noticed during like a really long workout, you kind of hit a wall, you just feel completely drained?
Oh, yeah.
Part of that is because of serotonin. It's a neurotransmitter that can really contribute to fatigue.
Oh, okay.
Well, isoleucine might actually help with that by decreasing those serotonin levels while you're exercising, especially if you're doing endurance exercise.
So you're saying, like, if I'm hitting that wall during a run, isoleucine could help me push further.
Potentially. It's pretty interesting, right?
Oh, that's super cool. Okay, so less muscle damage, less fatigue, anything else?
Oh, yeah, there's more. It might also play a role in how your body regulates blood sugar after you eat.
Okay, wait. How does that work? I'm trying to picture it.
So imagine like a traffic cop, directing sugar to all the right places.
Okay.
Well, isoleucine seems to slow down gastric emptying. That's how quickly food moves from your stomach to your intestines.
Oh.
So by kind of slowing things down, it helps prevent those big blood sugar spikes that can make you feel sluggish and tired.
So it helps keep your energy levels more stable.
Exactly. Which is important for everyone, not just athletes. It's really about maintaining overall metabolic health.
Got it. Okay, so we've talked about leucine, we've talked about isoleucine, but before we move on to Valine, I want to dig a little deeper into this blood sugar connection.
Okay, yeah.
Because, how isoleucine supports exercise recovery and overall health even points out that isoleucine and leucine, they have different effects on insulin, the hormone that controls blood sugar.
Right, right. It's fascinating how these seemingly simple nutrients can have such a complex relationship with something as important as blood sugar control. It says here that isoleucine doesn't seem to affect those levels much at all.
Really?
Yeah. But leucine, on the other hand, it actually seems to increase them.
Huh. So what's the deal with that?
Well, that's a really key distinction, and it could explain why some people find that leucine's really helpful for managing their blood sugar,
Okay.
while others don't see any effect or even a negative impact.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing with these BCAAs.
Exactly. It really seems like understanding how your own metabolism responds is super important.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, let's get back to our amino acid all-stars.
Okay.
We've talked about leucine, isoleucine. So what about valine? What's its role in all of this?
Well, valine is essential for muscle metabolism, tissue repair, and maintaining something called nitrogen balance.
Nitrogen balance.
Yeah, it's crucial for muscle growth.
Hold on. Nitrogen balance, that sounds pretty technical.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, think of it this way. Your body is constantly building and breaking down proteins, right?
Right.
Well, nitrogen is a key part of protein. So nitrogen balance is basically the difference between how much nitrogen you're taking in through your diet and how much you're losing through various processes.
Well,
so when you're in positive nitrogen balance, that means you're taking in more than you're losing.
got it.
And that's what you need for building muscle.
Uh-huh. So valine helps, tip the scales towards more muscle growth.
Yes, by promoting that positive nitrogen balance.
Awesome. But it sounds like, just like its BCAA buddies, valine's talents go beyond just muscles, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It also contributes to mental function, cognitive performance, and even a healthy immune system.
So it's keeping our brains sharp and our defenses strong.
Exactly.
Not bad for a tiny little amino acid.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got these 3 essential amino acids. They're all working together.
Yeah.
Leucine's like the muscle-building powerhouse. Isoleucine is the recovery and blood sugar specialist. And then valine supporting muscle growth and overall health.
You got it. And going back to your original question about maximizing workout recovery,
Yeah.
how isoleucine supports exercise recovery and overall health suggests it's not just about what each BCAA does on its own,
Okay.
but it's really about how they all work together.
So teamwork makes the dream work, even for amino acids.
Yeah. I mean, while leucine is often seen as the MVP for muscle protein synthesis,
Right.
some recent research is hinting that isoleucine and valine might actually enhance leucine's effects when they're all taken together.
Oh, interesting. So they're not competing. They actually work better as a team.
Well, it's a little more nuanced than that. There is also a competitive aspect to their relationship. It seems like isoleucine and valine might actually limit how much leucine gets absorbed in the gut and the muscles.
Wait, so they're helping leucine do its job, but also trying to hog the spotlight a little bit?
It's kind of a complicated relationship, and it's something that researchers are still trying to figure out.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this could have some serious implications for how we think about taking BCAA supplements.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's not as simple as just grabbing any BCAA supplement off the shelf.
Yeah. Not necessarily. The source suggests that a more targeted approach, one that considers your specific needs and goals, might be more effective than just taking a ton of all 3 equally.
So it's not just about quantity, it's about the right balance.
And the timing, too.
Right, right. Which makes me think about, different kinds of athletes who might have very specific needs depending on, their sport and how intensely they're training.
Exactly. A marathon runner focusing on endurance, they might prioritize isoleucine for its fatigue-fighting properties.
Okay.
Whereas, a power lifter who's all about muscle growth, they might want to really emphasize leucine.
And then someone who's, really focused on managing their blood sugar levels, they might need a different approach altogether.
Exactly.
It sounds like working with a healthcare professional is key for figuring out the best strategy, right?
Oh, absolutely. They can help you personalize your approach and really optimize how you're taking in those BCAAs.
This whole conversation is seriously making me rethink how I approach BCAAs.
Yeah.
I've always just assumed that like a standard BCAA supplement would be good for anyone who's trying to recover better from their workouts.
Yeah.
But it's clearly a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, it's a common misconception. People think of BCAAs as this one big group, you
Wow.
know? But as we've seen, each of those amino acids has its own unique role, and they interact with each other in all these really complex ways.
Right. It's not just about BCAAs. It's about leucine,
Yeah.
isoleucine, Valine.
Exactly. And this really highlights how important it is to focus on getting your BCAAs from whole food sources whenever you can.
Oh, right. All those delicious BCAA-rich foods we talked about.
Yes, they provide that complete package of nutrients all working together.
So a good diet should be the foundation, right? With plenty of those foods.
Absolutely. And then, based on your individual needs and goals, you can think about targeted supplementation.
With the guidance of a professional.
Exactly. Always talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian before starting any new supplements.
Good advice. Okay, so, one thing that really jumped out at me when I was reading through the sources was this potential link between high BCAA intake and an increased risk of type 2 diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of alarming.
It is definitely something that we should be paying attention to.
Right.
But it's really important to look at it with a balanced perspective.
Mm.
The research isn't totally conclusive yet, and it's not clear if high BCAA levels are actually causing the disease or if they're just a result of it.
So it's a bit of a chicken or egg situation.
Exactly. It's possible that people who have insulin resistance, which is a key feature of type 2 diabetes, they might just have higher BCAA levels because their metabolism isn't working quite right.
Okay.
But on the other hand, some researchers think that taking in too many BCAAs over a long time could actually contribute to developing insulin resistance.
So it's complicated.
It is. And it just underscores how important moderation and personalization are.
Right. More isn't always better. This deep dive has been so eye-opening. I'm seeing BCAAs in a whole new light. It's not just about building muscle anymore. It's about understanding their role in our overall health.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Totally. Speaking of fascinating, one of the sources, branched-chain amino acid Wikipedia, it mentioned a possible connection between high BCAA intake and an increased risk of ALS.
Oh, wow.
Which is a really serious neurodegenerative disease.
Right, right. It's really important to stress that this is a very preliminary finding, okay? It's mostly based on studies done on animals.
Okay.
And the research is definitely not conclusive at this point. The idea is that high BCAA levels might lead to something called cell hyperexcitability.
Hyperexcitability.
Yeah, basically it means the cells are like overstimulated and that could damage neurons over time.
Oh, wow. So it's like the neurons are firing too much and eventually they just burn out.
That's a simplified way to put it. But yeah, that's the basic idea. But again, this research is really new.
Right.
And it's not clear if it applies to humans at all.
So it's like a potential red flag, but we need more research to know if it's something to really be worried about.
Exactly. It's something to keep an eye on as research progresses, but it's definitely too early to jump to any conclusions.
It seems like the more we learn about BCAAs, the more questions come up.
That's science for you. It's
Yeah.
a never-ending journey of discovery.
Always challenging our assumptions.
And expanding our understanding.
Well, this whole deep dive has really highlighted how important it is to have a balanced and nuanced view of BCAAs.
I completely agree. It's about understanding the potential benefits, but also being aware of the potential risks and what we still don't know.
Right, and recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Exactly.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's
Yeah.
more thing I want to touch on.
Okay.
It's about the potential for BCAAs to actually help us live longer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Branched-chain amino acid Wikipedia
Hmm.
mentions studies done on flies and mice that suggest a link between restricting BCAAs and living longer.
Right. There is some research that suggests restricting BCAAs in your diet might promote longevity in certain organisms, but the findings are complicated and sometimes they even contradict each other. Like BCAA restriction seems to make flies live longer, but the studies on mice have shown mixed results.
So it's not a guaranteed fountain of youth.
Unfortunately not. The relationship between BCAAs and how long we live is really complex.
Right.
And it probably depends on things like our genes, our overall diet, and our health.
So many factors.
Yeah. And we need more research to fully understand how BCAAs affect aging and longevity.
It's another reminder that the world of BCAAs is full of surprises.
Absolutely.
Well, listeners, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive,
We have.
but we're not done yet.
Not quite. We'll be back in part 3 to delve even deeper into the fascinating world of BCAAs.
So stay tuned and get ready for the final leg of our journey. All right, so we're back, ready for the final part of our BCAA deep dive.
I am, though I gotta admit my brain's kind of full after all that.
All right, it's a lot. I feel like we went from BCAA basics to like a full-on PhD level discussion of these things.
Yeah, we really got into the weeds there, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
But it's been so fascinating. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is just how important that balance is.
Yeah.
You know, the potential benefits, but also the potential risks.
Yeah, for sure. BCAAs are definitely powerful. They do a lot in the body, but they're not some like magic solution.
Right.
It's about really understanding the science, being aware of those downsides, and then, making smart choices for yourself.
And that's what's been so interesting about this whole conversation is realizing just how much those individual needs matter. Like what works for one person might not work for another at all.
Totally. We're not all the same, right? Our bodies are different, our goals are different, and that means our approach to BCAAs has to be different too.
For sure. And that's where having some expert guidance can be so helpful. You know, working with a doctor or a registered dietitian, someone who can really help you personalize things.
Absolutely. They can help you figure out what's best for you, not just what some generic label says.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the whole supplement thing, the pros, the cons.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, from your perspective, what's the best way to actually get BCAAs? Is it supplements? Or is it like going straight to the source with food?
I'm always going to advocate for real food first. Remember all those awesome foods we talked about? The meat, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, legumes, nuts, seeds. Those foods, they're packed with BCAAs, but they're also giving you a ton of other amazing nutrients that work together,
Right. It's like a whole package deal.
It is, and that's why it's so much better than just isolating one or two specific amino acids in a supplement.
Yeah, it's about eating real food, not just taking pills.
Totally. And I think that's true for anyone, regardless of your goals. A good balanced diet with plenty of those BCAA-rich foods is the foundation.
Solid foundation. And then if you need a little extra, maybe a targeted supplement.
Under the guidance of a professional, of course.
Always. Okay. Something else that came up in both branched chain amino acids, BCAAs, and that Wikipedia article was this potential link between high BCAA intake and some other health issues like obesity and even heart disease.
Right. Yeah. It's something we need to talk about.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. What's the latest on that?
Well, the research is still ongoing, and it's pretty complex. Some studies have found higher levels of BCAAs in people who are obese or have heart disease, but it's not totally clear if those high BCAA levels are causing the problems or if they're just a symptom.
It's that chicken or egg thing again.
Exactly. It could be that these conditions actually change how our bodies process BCAAs. But some researchers also think that eating too many BCAAs for a really long time could actually contribute to those metabolic problems in the first place.
So moderation, balance, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And it just shows how important it is to work with a healthcare provider who can look at your individual situation, your risk factors, and give you advice that's tailored to you.
Good advice. One last thing that really caught my attention was this idea that BCAAs could actually be used to help treat some health conditions. How isoleucine supports exercise recovery and overall health. Talked about isoleucine maybe being helpful for people with hepatic encephalopathy. It's a complication from liver disease.
Yeah, that's some really interesting research.
It is. It sounds like isoleucine might actually help improve brain function in people with this condition. Something about improving blood flow to the brain and maybe even reducing those toxins that cause neurological problems.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing, right? We often think about BCAAs in the context of like muscles and athletic performance, but it turns out they might have even broader therapeutic applications.
Yeah, it just goes to show how versatile these nutrients are. We're still learning so much about them.
We are. It's a constantly evolving field of research, which is what makes it so exciting.
Totally. Well, I think we've pretty much reached the bottom of this deep dive.
I think so. Though there's always more to learn, isn't there?
Always. But for now, I feel like we've covered so much ground. The complexities of BCAAs, the potential benefits and risks, the whole food versus supplement debate.
It's been a great conversation.
It has. And I hope our listeners are feeling just as energized and informed as I am.
Me too. I think this deep dive has given us all a lot to think about.
It definitely has. And you know what? This is just the beginning. There's a whole world of information out there about BCAAs, and knowledge is power.
For sure. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep taking care of yourselves.
Couldn't said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this BCAA deep dive, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.